Hey guys, welcome to the 2021 edition of the Tour de France. It's the Detour Live. We're coming live every night for the tour at 6:30 p.m. So we're super excited about that. I'm your host, Dan Jones, and as always, four-time national road champion of Australia, Johnny Trevorrow. This is the second year in a row you haven't been able to go to the tour, but you must be used to the routine now, mate.
Yeah, look, I was so disappointed last year, but I had so much fun doing the podcast with you, Dan, that I felt that I was there, and we did all three Grand Tours and it started this way again. We've done the Giro. It was wonderful. We've done a couple of catch-up. And now I'm so excited about this tour. When I first saw the route, I thought, after last year's brutal route, but as I looked at it more and looked at the field, I am so excited. We are in for one hell of a 3 weeks. And I'm having trouble picking the winner. I've got, I'm leaning one way, but it's going to be amazing 3 weeks.
Well, another thing that excites us, John, is the fact that we have the voice of cycling, Phil Liggett, on every night on the Detour, as well as Matt White.
That is amazing, isn't it? That just shows you how good our little Rolodex is.
Well,
such good mates with them, so that helps a lot. Phil and I go back to when we were in our 20s, so a long, long while ago.
Well, Phil's waiting patiently. Let's not delay it any further. Here he is, the voice of cycling, live from the UK. It's the fabulous Phil Liggett. And Phil, what we're going to be doing this year as well is we're really going to promote the charity, the Kariega Foundation. They've been doing some fantastic work, and you did the ride a couple of weekends ago. And apologies, John did forget about the first one, but we did jump on for this. I think it was the fourth one you did on the Sunday. That was fantastic.
I jumped on for two of them, so I jumped on at 1 o'clock in the morning for one. But yeah, I was impressed with that film. The way it was done, the way it presented, it looked. You just felt like you were riding through the African, jungle.
No, you're right, John, and it was a great success. We raised just under $12,000. Okay, we have a target which we set of 35, but donations remain open. It was popular, and we decided probably from September onward we're going to repeat it once a month, and we'll get different experts in wildlife and in South African situations, and we'll interview them while we ride around various parts of South Africa on our bikes. It's gone down so well, and particularly in Australia. I mean, you're right, John. You guys were getting up at 1 o'clock in the morning on some weekends just to take part in the ride around the Kariega Game Reserve, which is in the Eastern Cape, just below Durban in South Africa. And I tell you, the people who run Kariega do it for the people of the region, and also for the way the animals roam freely, particularly the rhino. And they have the most famous one there, Tandy, that was hacked almost to death to have her horn taken off. She not only survived thanks to the work of the vets, but she's had 3 children since, and the children have had children. She's a big success story. But they've got no money. They've got no money because of COVID. So we're helping them out.
Yeah, they can't get the guests like they would normally have. But what I was really impressed with was the technology now with Full Gas, which is an Australian company who set it all up. And it was just brilliant. You really did feel like you were riding through the bush, and animals jumping out and everything. It was just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, well, we're hoping that it'll continue on. Full Gas is a super app, and you're right. It's run by a guy from Australia, Mike Klukas, and he's done a fantastic job. You really feel as though you're riding the roads. As I said, during the month of March, don't forget, John, I rode the whole way from Land's End to John O'Groats on the app. So I went upstairs every day and did an hour and a half to 2 hours on the bike every day for the month of March. I got quite fit, really, because it was a bit cold outside.
And we want people to donate, so you can go to the website kariega.co.za/Peloton. There's a button there you can click to donate, and by the end of the month, mate, let's try and get it up to that 35 grand mark. So we'll keep pushing that throughout the month.
I never asked for money, but I'm not embarrassed at all to ask everybody to help out on this occasion.
Yeah. Now, Tour de France, obviously it's going to be a big addition. If you can't pick a winner, Phil, have you got any insight as to who you think is going to take out the overall for for the race this year?
As we speak, we're having a dress rehearsal here. I'm in my home for the next 3 weeks, which is a studio at Sky TV, just outside of Heathrow Airport. And first time I've been in this area since we finished the Tour de France last year. So like John, it's our second year not going to the Tour de France. But, you know, we got the biggest viewing figures for 10 years last year, and we were sat in this studio. So maybe they're thinking they can save some money. But they haven't reduced my salary, by the way, so that's okay. I really think we're in for a great tour. I see it probably as a battle of three teams, if we're looking for the final winner, which, of course, is Jumbo, UAE with Pogacar, and also Ineos Grenadiers. Ineos Grenadiers are firing on all cylinders. They've got three riders on the team who could win this race for sure, and not least, of course, Richie Porte. Geraint Thomas is the big favourite, I think, all round. They haven't lost the Grand Tour, this year yet. They won Italy. They're looking for France. They've won the Tour of Romandy. They won the Tour of Switzerland. They've won the Dauphiné. They're on form. And we don't know what Roglic is doing because he's been training in Tignes in the Alps. He hasn't raced for ages and ages and ages, gone against all of the tradition of riding a warm-up race before the Tour. We don't know what's going to happen on day one with Roglic. And Pogacar won the Tour of Slovenia. It wasn't a hard race for this kid, but he won it well. He's got the legs, I think, to probably repeat his victory if he has the breaks. But 2 time trials this year, John, 58 kilometres of flashish time trials. Might not suit Pogacar like the time trial last year, which was at La Belle de Planche. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with mate. Matter of fact, I disagree slightly with Dan. I am prepared to make a prediction. I am having trouble with it. I've changed.
I was just repeating what you said.
I know.
I disagree. I'm just saying exactly what you said.
I'm having trouble. I didn't say I wasn't going to.
Okay.
I'm not going to say but
sounds like the one I love and know.
I agree. It's going to be Ineos versus Slovenia. There's no doubt about that. And they're so strong. I lean a little bit towards Roglic because I just think that Jumbo is strong. It's as strong as, not quite as strong, but almost the same as Ineos, right up there. And the proof will be in the pudding, but the fact that he doesn't look too good there.
Nah, I was trying to stitch him up with that photo.
That's the top of the penultimate day where we got hijacked. But that's why he's done it. He hasn't raced in Liège. He's gone into training camps, high altitude. He wants to come in and ride himself in a little bit. He's such a talented cyclist. He wants to be going strong in the last week, which is what he got wrong last year. But in the end, I'm going to go with Pogacar. He's 22. He knows what to do. His team isn't as strong, so he's going to have to survive some stages where he is unprotected. But he is a class act. I'm just leaning there just slightly. It's going to be, and I'm really looking forward to what happens with Ineos Grenadiers in that they've got 4 guys who are capable of winning, and they need to play that card to beat the Slovenians. So this could be the greatest opportunity for Richie Porte. We thought last year, okay, he's got 3rd in the Tour de France. That's wonderful. He's going to take the money now with Ineos and be a support rider. Well, it could just turn around, and he could be put into a position. He gets up the road. He gets into that yellow jersey, which he's never worn before, gets into there, puts on the yellow, all bets are off.
I think for sure he's a smoky because you looked at how they raced the Dauphiné and just allowed him to go up the road and attack. And then that's going to put a lot of the other teams on the back foot, focusing on Richie and, Geraint Thomas and Carapaz, it takes a lot of the stress off them. So they've definitely got cards to play, and it's going to be phenomenal, like the cat and mouse chess piece tactics. But the other thing that blows me away is the amount of preparation that goes into Tour de France campaign. Obviously, we had Alan Piper on the show last year, and he's obviously had a few health issues, but he's still doing the preparation for the team at the Tour. And just on one stage, you're talking 22 slides of notes for stage 8 that goes into each day. I mean, Jesus, come a long way. I remember the early days, with the Green Edge team when we had Robbie McEwen doing the recon, and he's trying to send through the videos, and there was stuff ups with the Wi-Fi, and it's so meticulous, the planning for these Tour de France's. It's this huge evolution, Phil.
Absolutely right. It most certainly is. And long gone are the days when Laurent Fignon never looked at the route of the Tour de France till the eve of the race. Those days are well gone now. Most of the riders go and check out all of the key stages. The reason Roglic based himself in Tignes was the important Alpine stages. He's ridden them all, probably more than once, I would suspect. And you're right about Richie. He's riding, I think, his 11th Tour this year. A couple of years ago, he crashed out on stage 9, 2 years running, same stage. So let's see him through stage 9 and then cheer him on towards Paris. But there's so much going for this race, and it starts on day one. It starts on day one tomorrow because it's a nasty little finish, a very, very narrow right-hand turn onto the finishing climb, where if you're not in the first dozen, well, you'll probably fall off because it really is a silly turn up to the final climb of the day. And what about somebody like Alejandro Valverde? He's 2.5 years older than the next oldest rider in the race. He's nearly 41 years of age, and he's fit as a flea. He could win that climb up the hill and be the first yellow jersey and get us off to a fantastic tour.
Well, obviously, Michael Matthews, if he's going to be a big chance for that opening stage. But what I like that Team Bike Exchange have done, Bling he rides on confidence. But I remember when the team, back when he was first with them, presented him with a brand new special edition Bling bike. Now, they've done the same thing coming into the tour. They've given him a special edition Bianchi that looks like an absolute power machine. Yeah, well, this is what it looks like with wheels on it, Phil.
Lovely,
but
nice.
It is incredible the effect that this will have on Bling Iffy. You were his bodyguard at the Giro. I mean, there's no reason why he won't be up and about for that opening stage.
Exactly, mate. Yes, he loved that the pink bike that they did for him at the Giro when he got the leader's jersey. Look, he is a rider on confidence. He's a big chance for the stage one. So what I really like about this race is the first 2 days are tough days, and it's going to be the GC riders like Pogacar, Roglic, Thomas, Richie, up against the classic specialists like Wout van Aert and Van der Poel, and Alaphilippe and Bling. So it's going to be a mix. It's too hard for the sprinters. The Caleb's Nat are going to have to wait till stage 3 to show us stop this stuff. But look, it is as you show, right? That last bit on that map there, Phil, turns that corner and up. It's quite steep. Alaphilippe come out and said that it was much harder than everyone thought, and it could really test even himself. But I said, and I spoke to Matty White yesterday when he was driving up the course, and as he got to the top, he said, "Nah, he's full of shit. It's fine. Blink can win this. So, all good."
And then this is
it's a good choice,
this is
John.
stage 2.
By the way, climb that same time as the men earlier. They climbed the hill 4 times in the women's event, La Course. So they've got a tougher challenge, I think.
And obviously, you're going to be pretty excited with the amount of Aussies that are leading the GC chances for teams this year. Obviously, Jack Haig has come into some pretty good form. How do you rate his chances for this?
Look, we've got 4 Australians who are, either leading the team or they're in there with the GC opportunity. So Jack Haig he was very good in the Dauphiné, finished 5th, and looked classy, had some strong attacks on the climbs. He's just improving this year. He's going to be top 10 and a chance for the podium. Lucas Hamilton, who is the designated GC man for the Tour de France. They've tried to keep it a bit low-key, saying he meant Chavez, but no, it's going to be young Lucas. And then we've got Ben O'Connor, who is just this year, and I love the aggressive way he climbs and attacks. And AJ Tuar, Citroën have nominated him as their GC man. And then, of course, we've got Richie, who might not be the nominated guy, but they're saying all 4 of them are going to get the opportunity. So we're 4 Aussies in with a wonderful chance.
And obviously, in the sprints, we've got Caleb Ewan. How many stages do you think he can win, Phil?
Well, he could, in theory, win 6. In practice, he might well win 6. I don't know. The sprinters are all there, of course. The return of Mark Cavendish, Whether he can get through 3 weeks, I don't know. He hasn't ridden the Tour since 2018. He's always been controversially left out, and now he's controversially got in. So you can't beat the poor old Mark, can you? But I really hope he rides well. I think he's just fabulous. And he go head-to-head, obviously, with Kelly Buin. There are other great sprinters, not least Van der Poel, Mathieu Van der Poel, another candidate who could win stage one, but much more suitable to the uphill finish, I think. But this race is going to be exciting and very talkable from the first off tomorrow.
Now, in other news, Vinokurov was given the lemon and sauce from the Astana team only a couple of days ago. That's a really interesting move leading in yesterday.
Yeah.
Leading into the Tour de France, there's obviously been a bit of a dust-up, and Vino's come off second best.
Well, I thought he was in control of that team. I really did. I didn't think anyone could sack him. I thought he was right.
Godfather.
Best mates with the boss of Kazakhstan. Look, who would know? I've never been a fan of the Astana team. I find them. I suppose I shouldn't say they're shonky, but I will. They're shonky, and he's just as shonky. I mean, he might be Olympic champion and all that. No time for him at all. And you live by the sword, die by the sword, I guess.
Geez, I wouldn't be going to Kazakhstan anytime soon. I think you might go missing, mate.
You'll have your visa revoked straight away, John. But in fairness, Vinokurov also thought he was in charge of the team. And that's why he's issuing a lawsuit now to get his job back. So we'll see what happens there. But you're right, there's always been controversy surrounding the team. I've never been a big fan of the team myself. But I think they're riding very well as a team just now. And obviously, Fulsang is looking for a high finish too. We'll be certainly talking about Astana, a Premier Tech, during this Tour de France. There's no doubt about that. But there is something more to why Vinokurov has disappeared in the last 24 hours for sure.
And in other news as well, we want to send a shout out to Kort, otherwise known as Aussie Koen. Tragic accident with a quad bike, and it's left 3 fingers had to be amputated on his right hand. So, lots of love and thoughts with Koen because he's a great guy. He spent a lot of time in Australia, and when I was living in Girona, I caught up with him quite a lot. And yeah, it's just one of those things that when you heard the news, you just instantly feel sick for the guy, and you're obviously thankful that it wasn't even more serious, but it's definitely serious enough to obviously you need your hands when you're cycling. So we just really wish him all the best in his recovery, and I hope he's doing okay for sure.
Well, I second that, Dan. I really do. Koen was a great friend. I used to come out of the hotel, the Prince of Wales in Melbourne, up in St Kilda there, and often would see him coming in off the beach road. Because at the time he was married to an Aussie girl and he used to be training on beach road. And he'd go, "Good day, mate." You'd think he was an Aussie. And we stopped and had a long chat. And then he was a brilliant rider on the team. He wasn't selected for the Tour this year. Maybe that's why he was out riding a quad bike. I don't know. But it shocked me yesterday morning, my time, when I saw the news come up on my computer. To lose fingers is bad enough when you're not an athlete. But honestly, I can't see how he can continue now as a pro. I find it devastating. Okay, he's at the wrong end of his career, but what a way to end.
I know, it's shocking. I'll run through a couple of the viewer comments, and we've got a competition this year, Iffy, for the best comment for each week of the tour.
We have. Let's Go Motorhomes back in as a partner, which is sensational. So thank you, Andrew. And the best question each week will win a $500 Let's Go Motorhome voucher. We have to work out who's going to select that because last time I copped a bit of flack for my selections on it. So we might try them to Phil. We'll send all the questions to Phil and let him pick it.
Okay. Well, I'll just start. I'll just start rattling off a few. Stuart McCulley says, "All the best, fellas." Gary Tilley, who's a regular watcher of the show, says, "Good evening, Phil, Iffy, and Dan." B. Foxcroft says, "Morning, boys. So pumped for the tour. How many stages can Team Bike Exchange expect to compete in? Hope to see Bling pick up a couple of early ones and get the yellow for the first week. What do you think, Phil?"
Perfect scenario if Bling does do it and keep the yellow for the first week. I think the yellow will be thrown around more than once during that first week of the Tour. It's 2 days before the sprinters have a real crack. Don't forget, they won't be in competition till day 3, when we might see Cavendish and Caleb take it on, and of course Bling. But Bling is more suited than the other sprinters to getting something out of the first 2 days of this race as well. I think the Bike Exchange will be prominent. They've had a fabulous year so far. They've already said that I don't think the GC is their target this year, but Simon Yates is going to go and hunt for stage wins. I'm glad to see Shiraz. I'm a great fan of Shiraz, because this is a guy, I love his attitude to life. He's carefree, he's happy, and I think he's getting back to the form of a couple of years ago. And he might be a surprise. I really hope he gets in there.
He's definitely riding aggressive, which is good. That always shows signs that he's obviously confident. And from all reports, he's always been one of those riders that needed to ride when his weight was at its minimal. And apparently he's looking really lean. So that's obviously a good sign going into the Tour. And he's obviously had a lot of health issues over the last couple of years and seems to be on the top of that as well. Wendy Superfan says, hi, Dan, John, Phil. Can't wait for the Tour de France this year. Going to be so excited with so many Aussies in GC positions. Lucas Ben O'Connor, Jack Haig with Caleb, Richie Bling capable of stage wins. And then Gary also said, not sure if you know, but Alan Piper won't be on tour this year because of his health issues. We're aware of that, but he can still help manage the PowerPoint presentations from home. So he's doing a lot of stuff off-site. And Kim Dixon says, hello, can you tell us a bit about Harry Sweeney riding for Lotto, John?
Yeah, look, he's been great. He's a Queenslander, and he was to Belgium. He was doing the lead-outs, part of the lead-out team. He's sort of the third last guy, and does a great job. He's got a lot of talent, very quick, strong, and obviously connected well with Caleb. And so fantastic, his first Tour de France. And look, I only disagree with you on one thing, Phil. I reckon he could win 8 stages because there's 8 flat stages. I reckon he could win all 8. But he traditionally gets going takes a couple of stages to get going. So I am so looking forward to those finishes. Tim Mullier is a fantastic sprinter as well. And to see Cav back in, I mean, just how exciting. Bad luck for Jamie Bennett, that he's got a knee injury, but Cav back in, and it's just been a fairy story. I mean, the greatest sprinter, he is the best road sprinter that the game has seen, no doubt. If 30 Tour de France stage wins, world champion, even though he just pipped Gossi, but doesn't matter. Lance and Remo, he is a class act, but then he got that. What is it? It's been a bar virus. It set him back. He's had all these challenges. And it was like a fairy story when he won those 4 stages in Tour of Turkey. But then his stage win in Belgium, that was something else. Well, absolutely. Best sprinters, put him away, and he's back. So
I really think the Cav's going to win stage 3. And I'm just looking at your polo shirt, Phil, how excited would NBC be if Mark Cavendish, because, let's be honest, the Americans love a good fairy tale documentary with the right emotional music and with your voice over the top. Oh, I can see the producers salivating.
You're right. They've actually commented on that already back from over in Stamford, Connecticut. They're really happy that Cavendish has been selected. And there's also quite a lot of cheers. Nasser Bouhanni has been selected because he's the champion boxer of the Tour de France. He's always getting into aggro. So put them together, we could have some exciting sprint finishes, and somewhere underneath the armpits might come a very diminutive Caleb Ewan to take out the stage. Who knows? We're starting on equal terms anyway, John. You've got 10 Aussies in the Tour this year. We've got 10 Brits. And we've got 2 Brits I'd never heard of. A guy called Mark Donovan, who rides for Lotto, and the guy, and you can't get more British name than Fred Wright, riding for FDJ. And I thought, who the heck is Fred Wright? Turns out, I think he's the 3rd youngest rider in the Tour. The team, FDJ, he's always raced for, and he's come through the ranks, and he's on the World Tour squad, have great faith in him, as do Lotto with Donovan. They're really backing these 2 kids, but they never came through the system in Great Britain. They went to Europe, and they made it there. So I'm looking forward to a lot of aspects of this year's Tour. And we've got 45 5 first-time riders in the Tour this year, from memory, that is. That's about average. We usually get between 45, 47 every year, so no surprises there. But a lot of youngsters, of course, who are going to show the oldsters how to get to Paris, I guess.
Well, it's interesting. The FDJ, one of the great traditional French teams, but we also got Miles Scottson in there as part of the lead-out train for Andre Demar, who is going to is serious challenger, one of the big challenges for Caleb, for sure. But they've also got David Gaudu, who is, I think, the big French up. He's the only Frenchman in this bike race who is a chance to get on the podium.
And he's the man for the first 2 days as well, Gaudu, because he comes from Brittany. He lives very close to where the finish is. So he wants to show his colours, as in does Warren Barguil as well.
Now, Phil, before we let you go, how's the preparations been for you for the Tour de France? Have you researched all the chateaux and all the regions and the food and wine?
I'm going to show you my chateaux. Nobody's ever seen this famous book. Hang on. Can you see how thick that is?
Yeah.
Yes.
That is all my history of the chateaux of the Tour de France. Now, the skill of the job is to find the right chateau on the right page when you've got 545 pages, when you've got 1 minute on air to find it. But that's a challenge that we'll face up to on the day. But yeah.
So just chateau, mate. No one will know the difference.
Well, that's right. As I always said to Paul Sherwood, just tell them Louis XIV lived there, because nobody knows. And he lived everywhere. Yeah.
Well, it's been fantastic having you on for this Tour de France preview, Phil. We really appreciate it, mate. We've done a lot before, but now it looks like a permanent slot. The viewers will all be turning off by Tuesday.
They miss your dulcet tones. Normally, you used to always be doing SBS, NBC, but it all got a little bit crossed over. So now you're still doing it for the big American network. But we're missing you. They're missing you here. So this is their opportunity to still hear those dulcet tones, mate. The voice of cycling.
Well, even though they never hear me in Australia on the networks anymore, through no fault of anybody except the organisation wanted to change the system. My biggest mailbag comes from Australia, which I'm delighted, because I love working with the Aussies. They're so easy going. But look at you two. I mean, here we are having a serious conversation and making light of it. And after the games are over, of course, I'm with Channel 7 for the Olympic Games for the cycling. So, yeah, my life seems to be in Australia, even though I'm 20,000 kilometres away near Heathrow Airport.
Well, as we said, mate,
we'll have your co-commentator, Scotty McGrory, on tomorrow night with us as well, because Dan's taking a holiday. He's trying to have a day off. It gets hard, 3 weeks is hard.
I'm on kid duty, John, and you can't, when you're dealing with a 3 and a 2-year-old, if I tried to do this podcast, it would be absolute nightmare, mate. It'd be like a horror version of Play School.
So I'm hosting tomorrow night, so all help. So far, I've gotten away. We've done it 3 times now, and we've got away with it. Who would know what will happen tomorrow? But and Scotty's going to come on as my sidekick, and he's your co-host with Channel 7 for the Olympics. So I'm sure we can have some fun tomorrow. And
as we said at the top of the show, donate. It's a great cause. Kariega.co.za/Peloton. Get behind it, and we'll be plugging that throughout the month. So all the best, Phil.
Good luck with your voice recording. The lady who runs the Kariega Foundation will be seeing this podcast as well. So she's getting very excited about what you can do to keep those animals free roaming, and the local people, in some form of employment, because COVID is stripping out all the game parks of South Africa.
Oh, well, it's a great cause, and we'll be pushing as hard as we can, mate. So thanks for jumping on the show, and we'll check in again tomorrow, mate. Looking forward to it.
See you,
Can't wait.
Thanks, mate.
Can't wait. I'll do all the free stuff now. Now I'll do some real work. Okay.
Good on you, Phil. Cheers, mate.
What do you get paid for?
Phil Liggett, the voice of cycling. It's time now, Iffy, for a word from our sponsors, and we've got a new ad from Let's Go Motorhomes. So it's exciting. So after the break, we're going to have a chat with Team Bike Exchange Head DS, Matt White. So stay tuned.
We all love an open road, and often they're easier to find during quieter times of the year. In a Let's Go motorhome or camper van, you can road trip in comfort and style any time of the year. When the roads are quiet, you can get where you want quicker and easier without jostling for position. Chances are your destination won't be as busy too, which means you'll enjoy your travelling adventure even more. Plus, if you book a Let's Go motorhome or camper van in the off-season, you'll pay less, meaning you can travel longer. There's a type of motorhome or camper van for everyone, so you won't have to compromise on what you want. The whole range has the things you need to help create the perfect road trip experience, including heating and cooling, keeping you comfortable on the road all the time. Whether there's 2 or 6 of you, there's a motorhome for everyone. And in a Let's Go motorhome, your journey can be just as fun as the destination you want to reach. The open road is calling. Check out some of our great offers online today and start planning your next road trip. Rain, hail, or shine.
Look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike. 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match, but not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace, with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. Bike Exchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
Thanks again to Bike Exchange and Let's Go Motorhomes. And as we said, the best question of each week will get a $500 voucher selected by Phil Liggett, who's been thrown under the bus. So any questions that are juicy that come on after Phil, we'll have to let him know, Iffy.
I'm sure you'll send him all of the list at the end of each week and he can do the selection. But I just noticed when you did the little ad for Kariega, the wonderful foundation, you whack in a Z. You're a bit Americanized there. A ZA, you said. Where's Z, mate? Z in Australia.
Is it? Yeah. Well, I remember when you were in primary school and you had to learn how to do the cursive B, the Aussie B? That lasted a couple of years. Now I just do like the American, the circle one.
But we don't say Z here, mate. A to Z. A to Z. Anyway, that's okay. I just thought I'd pick it up.
Well, there you go, folks. You learn something new on every episode of The Detour. Now, Jason from the Maldives, Jason Cruz, our great mate, he says, good afternoon, gents. How about a wager on UK versus Aussie stage wins? Proceeds to Phil's foundation. My call, Aussie wins 4, Brits 3. That actually could be pretty interesting because we've obviously got the pocket rocket, Caleb Ewan, who could scoop the pool on a lot of those sprint stages. But then, with the GC battles and Geraint Thomas being up there, that could be pretty interesting, John.
I love it. Jason, you're on. We should run a little book on that. I love it. I'm prepared to get into that one. I reckon Caleb will win 4 on his own. And I'll tell you who's going to be winning some stages. Simon Yates. Simon is definitely not going for GC because he's it's too hard to do the Giro in this. And his focus right at the moment, other than Tour de France stage wins, is the Olympics. He's really keen to do a really good ride in the Olympics. And it's only a week, or even 6 days after finishing Paris to the Olympic road race. So he'll be, even if he gets to finish the Tour, he will be taking it a bit easier in the last week, trying to come out of this Tour with really good form. But he's a big chance for some good stage wins, mountain stage wins. So, yeah, Michael Matthews. I reckon Aussies could be looking 6 or 7 stage wins.
Yep, it's going to be interesting. Now, we've got another comment from Scott Davies. Says, g'day, fellas. Looking forward to the next 3 weeks. Hoping it's the return of the Colombian kangaroo. Now, I think it's going to be interesting because we can obviously ask Matt White when he comes on. Chavez is going to be riding in support, obviously, of Lucas Hamilton. But like with most teams that are riding GC, you don't want to not have them both sticking together at the pointy end, particularly in the first sort of block, just as a reserve in case anything happens, John?
Yeah, look, I think the biggest problem for Esteban, and he has got good form, and he'll go okay, but he cannot gain enough time. He's not going well enough to gain the time he would need for the time trials, because he's not a great time trialer. He has improved, but seriously, he's going to lose in those 2 long time trials. You've got 50-something kilometres of time trialing. He's going to lose minutes on the likes of Roglic and Thomas and Pogačar. So, whereas Lucas is not in the class of those guys in the time trial, but he is still okay, and his time losses will be a lot less.
Obviously, with Sam Bennett out, and we can ask Whitey this as well, but surely Bling would have to be thinking about the green jersey as well.
Yeah, interesting. There's a really good story on Cycling News. I think it was like Tips of Cycling News today, with Bling throwing his hat in the ring for the first 2 stages and just said, look, we'll see about the green jersey. Look, this year, more than before, I think Caleb is going to be a big chance because there are 8 flat stages. So whereas other years only be 4 or 5, and a lot of intermediate stages where the likes of Sagan would get up the road and get some extra points. Not as much for him this year. Sagan is still going to be, the one he's got to beat. No worries about that. He's not that far off the old Sagan. So he will be in the mix. What will be interesting, we'll find out really tomorrow, because last year, I think Caleb finished about 5th or 6th in the points without even going for it. He just got in the stages that he went for. But he never went for any of the intermediate sprints. And there's serious points up for the intermediate sprint each day. He never went for any of them. First 2 days, he's not going to be anywhere in the mix in the finale. It'll be interesting to see if he goes for the intermediate sprints on those 2 days, those first 2 days. If he does, then that tells you he's going for the green.
Now, another interesting character that's going to be riding the Tour is our old mate Chris Froome. Froomey, he's said in the media that there's a good chance he'll be going back to get bottles. I'd say that's paying about $1. And he said, what would be a fairy tale is if he could pinch a stage. I reckon that's unlikely given the form that he's shown so far. And it was a pretty serious injury that he's coming back from. This is obviously a bit of a publicity thing, do you think, John? The fact that he even got a start and to, have his wealth of knowledge in the team bus and so forth. What will be his major role?
It's interesting, isn't it? We've been debating this a bit on recent time, on and off air. I think it's a very smart move to put him in because it's the only way he's going to ever get back to some sort of semblance of the great form he used to have. It's been absolutely just terrible to have to watch him struggling and getting spat out the back. As soon as the pressure comes on the climbs in the lead-up races. And there's no way he's going to feature in this. I can't see him winning a stage either. But this is part of the stepping stone. A champion like Chris Froome will come back. I don't think he'll probably ever win the Tour de France again. But he'll be back and in contention by next year. So he'll most likely ride the Vuelta. So this is a really... If he can use this as a stepping stone, put in a decent Vuelta and get himself right to be next year at the pointy end of the bigger races, well, that'd be wonderful to see. Because what defines these guys, when you get the superstars of the different generations, the Eddie Merckxes and the Hinos and guys like that over the time, what differentiates them is this will to win, something really special in their DNA. Lance Armstrong. He was on TV the other day. What an amazing show. But forgetting all the other stuff, he had an absolute, will to win. That was probably the strongest I've ever seen. And Froome's got that. And so it's all part of. He's not here to make up the numbers. He's not here to get the dollars. He's here to get back to the pointy end, and he will.
I've had a suggestion from Peter Morris. How about a Detour Fantasy Tour de France League? I think they're running a few fantasy competitions, but that's technical stuff. I mean, you're going to have to get on a computer and pick riders iffy, and your microphone broke down today. I mean, that's just going to cook you. I don't think you'd be able to do it. I think you're better off just throwing out who you think is going to win the stage each night and just keep it simple.
I think it's a fantasy.
And Sally says, will Caleb try and finish the tour, or will he leave when there are no further stages for him to win? Well, obviously the Champs-Élysées is a big one on the last day, so that's enough motivation, you think?
Exactly. He wants that. That is the stage every sprinter wants to win. No, he'll be staying, and he'll be going for the green jersey too. And it could be that last stage that gets it for him.
Now, we got a WhatsApp from Whitey. He's just in the directors' meeting for the Tour de France at the moment. And these directors' meetings, they can be quite long, quite boring. And given that we're in the middle of a pandemic, I'd say there's going to be so many more protocols that they're going to go through. And if there are little tweaks, are there any new tweaks to any of the rules, John? Like with the throwing biddens to fans and all that sort of stuff that you've read up on?
Well, they've allowed that. They changed that rule just at the start of the Giro. So you can't smash it to them, but you can give the bottles to the fans. So they've made it a little bit tougher. I still reckon they should get that system with the targets and throw the bottles and the rubbish through the target. We could have a special jersey for that, but it could be sponsored by Target.
Target bullseye jersey.
Exactly.
It's a no-brainer. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, but obviously, not being on the ground at the Tour de France, even talking to the media guys, like the dynamic has changed considerably in terms of access. Like, even the photographers, they used to be able to get in on the buses and get all the, intimate photos and shots. And, we've still got the protocols with the interviews and so forth that I think it plays into the hands of guys like Richie. Just got a message from Whitey, hopefully finishes very soon, that don't have that hysteria that the Tour de France once had, when you're fighting through massive crowds and, you remember the Cadel Evans days trying to get an interview. Like, these were full-on scrums. It was like rugby at the finish where you're literally checking guys from, the UK and US just to get the prime posse. They don't have to deal with that anymore. That's perfect.
Look, and that's a good thing. That was out of control, and it wasn't. It could have been done so much better. So the system we've got now does give the media a better opportunity to catch up with the riders, and the riders have realised that they've got to play their part, and it's working better. But they were funny days. I can remember Scotty getting bumped over a barricade by one time by one of the opposition. But,
Serge's body. It was Cadel's bodyguard. Put him into the shrubs. Look, my gut shot's saying that this meeting with Whitey is going to run for quite some time longer. He sent me a photo then, and it doesn't look like there's much movement at the station with the slides.
We've got 5 minutes speaking, Philip. We've got plenty to talk about. I mean, we haven't even named all of the Aussies who are riding in the tour. So we've got 10 Australians riding in the tour. So we mentioned Harry Sweeney, who's supporting Caleb. There's 3 in Team Bike Exchange. So Durbo is the boss in the engine room, supporting Bling and Lucas, and then we've got, and I think that makes up for this, because we've got Simon, a young, what's his name, who's riding for DJ. And Simon Clark. It was the other one.
Clark, yeah.
He's the road captain for Quebec, Assos. So, and he'll be up there for a stage too, I can tell you. You can just see him getting up the road and snaffling a stage as well. So he seems to be, he's like a good wine, maturing with age as well. So I might have to lift that Aussie stage wins up to 8.
Well, one of the other smokies for the GC, or he's not really a big smoky, he's a big chance, and that's Iran, who's in some of the form of his life.
Yeah, no, he was brilliant in Switzerland. They had a monster time trial, which was up a mountain and down the other side, and he creamed them. He didn't just win it; it was nearly a minute. He just absolutely creamed them and finished second overall. So to Carabaz sitting right behind him there. So yeah, he's back in full, and yeah, chance for the podium. Definitely done it before.
I'll tell you one other interesting thing that we talked about a couple of days ago was Patrick Lefevere's comments about Sam Bennett with the selection of Cavendish, coming out and saying he doubted the seriousness of his knee injury and was questioning pretty much his mental toughness, saying that, you know, he didn't really feel comfortable with the pressure and all this sort of stuff. This just reeks of a manager that's obviously, one, he's pissed off that he's withdrawn from the tour, but he's obviously pissed off that he's leaving the team at the end of the year. Yeah,
well, not just leave the team. He couldn't come up with the money anyway because, you know, they've lost to Koen for next year. I don't know how he does it, Lefevere, but he keeps that team going. He's signed Evenepoel for 3 or 4 years, whatever. That smells. I hated reading that. When the guy in charge of the team is saying nasty stuff. I mean, Sam Bennett, for crying out loud, is a professional, as if he's going to just, pull out because, he's soft. That's not the case. It was a brilliant green jersey victory last year. He was the sprinter of the race, and he's had a knee injury. I mean, seriously, what's he on about?
And you think with sprinting, you need your knees, wouldn't you, John?
Well, you do. You need both of them working well.
Yeah. Wombat Breath, good fan of the show. He says, talking Aussie, some media have been talking up Ben O'Connor for a top 10 finish. What do you think about that?
Well, you weren't listening, obviously, Wombat Breath. We were just doing exactly the same. We reckon.
Did you call top 10?
We did. We called him top 10. Yeah, right at the start. And I've written a story.
I wasn't paying attention either.
No, really, he was so impressive in the Dauphiné. Not just the fact that he got in the top 10, I think he finished 8th, but it was the aggressive way he attacked on the climbs. I remember that last day, he was, trying to get across and bridge a bit, but gee, he looked good. And I love it. Yeah, they've just signed him on, for another 3 years.
Well, let's have a quick scour through some of the stages if we're looking to fill a bit of time before Matt White joins on. This is obviously the opening stage, and this is all thanks to cyclingtips.com. And as you said, a pretty tricky finale there, which is going to wipe out the traditional flat sprinters, but guys like Alaphilippe and Michael Matthews will definitely be boxing on at the pointy end. And then you go across to stage 2, which is also a bit tougher finish there, and that finishes on the Murder Britannia. Is that the stage that Cadel Evans won, or the climb in 2011?
Yeah, it was the only stage he won in that tour, as it turned out. And he just pipped Contador. Contador started to celebrate, and Cadel pipped him right in the line. It was only a tyre in it. It was really close. But, and they've got it twice. They climb it twice. So they come in up the climb, and in the last lap they come in at the bottom and do a sharp left-hand turn and straight up it without any run at it, which is even tougher. So, look, both stages are very similar. They suit the same. So you've got Wout van Aert, Mathieu van der Poel, Julian Alaphilippe. You've got Pogacar, Roglic, Michael Matthews, Thomas, and also Richie. He's going to be in there. So the mixture of the GC riders and the one-day classic riders is going to suit them. And the sprinters, unfortunately, won't be able to get up this one, either of these 2 days.
And then we go to stage 3, which is a bit more of a traditional sprint stage, 2 Cat 4s, and it's 182.9 Ks. This is what I like about the tour as well. They sort of keep the distances around that sort of 180 mark, particularly early on. It's not like the Giro and they try and play funny buggers. But this is a sprint stage that Cavendish still has the top end speed. If he's dropped off with 150 meters, 200 to go in the right position, he's still quick enough to, and we saw that in Belgium. I think if he gets the really good lead out, and as we know, Caleb, traditionally, he said in an interview I saw on SBS that normally doesn't do too well early, and then normally they open up with a sprint stage, which adds a lot of pressure when there's a yellow jersey up for grabs. But he said, I can sort of work my way into it for the first couple of days. But I just got a gut shot, mate. I just think that Quick-Step are going to drop him off right in the sweet spot, and he's going to ride with one of those, nothing to lose mentalities, because he doesn't. He's got nothing to lose.
He certainly hasn't got anything to lose. I think Caleb will beat him, but he's going to be in that mix. And it's funny because Phil mentioned Nasser Bahani. I'm looking forward to him the boxer.
Oh, yeah.
He's had a holiday earlier in the year for roughing someone up on the sprint, so he'll be in the mix. But Andre Demar, Tim Mulier, there's some serious good sprinters here, so it's going to be brilliant. Yep.
All right, stage 4, 150 Ks. This also looks like one for the sprinters again. So this could be, if Caleb does win that stage 3, this could be back-to-back riding high in confidence iffy.
Same culprits all in the mix.
Yeah, and again, 150 Ks, perfect. Shorten it up. You don't need to stretch this out. And it's going to be quite windy through this area, as you know, John, which is obviously going to throw a bit of a cat amongst the pigeons. If you're GC, it's all going to be positioned, because as we've seen in the tour, you could lose 40 seconds to a minute quite easily if you're not in the right spot.
Yeah, so Brittany is known for its windy conditions, especially when they're anywhere near the coast. And also, but the weather's been a little bit rough the last couple of days. When I was talking to Warrior yesterday, it was 13 and a bit of rain and stuff. So whereas he left the bottom of Spain, it was 30-something degrees. So he's gone up to 13. So it'd be interesting. I'm sure he'll be on any minute. We'll get the latest. So let's have a look at the next one, mate.
All right, this is this is the first TT, 27.2K, stage 5. It's a little bit lumpy in some parts, but it's just the amount of time trialing, as you said, John, that makes it very difficult for the GC guys that aren't TT specialists or don't enjoy that.
This will be a crucial stage, and we'll really find out who's who in the zoo. I'm looking forward to see how Roglic goes in this. This will tell us a lot. Everyone else we know their form. Roglic is the mystery element in this tour, because he has not raced since Liège, Bastogne-Liège. So he's just done all his preparation as up in the high country, doing altitude and things like that. So it's good for him. This is stage 5, so he will have had those first 2 days, which will be under the pump, and then a couple of sprint stages, and we'll see how he goes here. Will tell us a lot.
Yep. All right, stage 661 Ks. This is obviously another one for the sprinters iffy. This could be Caleb Ewan's 3rd stage win.
Yep. Oh,
yep.
Exactly.
Stage 7, 249 Ks. That's the longest stage of the tour in 21 years, they say on Cycling Tips here. And it is a pan-flat stage. They're saying it could be a breakaway finish here.
Pan-flat start, but that's a toughish finish, and that probably it's more a Sagan type stage, Van der Poel, Van Aert type stage than the sprinters. We've got that last Cat 2 with 30K to go, and then a Cat 4 after that. I don't think Caleb and Co will get over them.
And it's finishing in La Crusoe. They must make those pots. They're awesome for stews. You got one of those?
Yeah, I'm having some tonight.
Yeah. Tell Phil he can add that to his Chateau book. This is stage 8, 151 Ks, and this looks like the GC guys. It's going to be pretty gnarly there with a couple of, you got 3 Cat 1s leading into the downhill finish into Le Grand Bornand.
Yeah, Le Grand Bornand, which we've stayed in a few times over the years, Dan. There's the Petit Bornand and the Grand Bornand, and the 2 hills near each other. It's interesting that there's only 3 summit finishes in this Tour de France, which would be the least in a long time. So that's still tough. You know, you got 3 Cat 1s in the last 50K, which will, but it probably doesn't suit Richie quite as much. He'd much rather have a summit finish than a descent. But he looked a bit better last time in Dauphiné. He's descending, which has never been his strongest point, but he looked a little bit better. And his teammate G, he actually is a fairly good descender, but he manages to fall off. I don't know whether he's overconfidence or what. So I don't know. Let's hope that the two of them can get through. So continue on.
Stage 9, 145 Ks. This is obviously another one for the mountain goats. We've got a HC climb in the middle there, a couple of Cat 1s and Cat 2s, Johnny. And again, I love this, 144 Ks. Doesn't need to stretch it out.
And this is a really good stage. You start, you've only got 20K and then straight into a Cat 2, and then a Cat 1, a HC, Cat 2, and then we know that climb. It's a really good finale. Long climb, 20-odd kilometres, and it's the first real summit finish of the bike race. So this will tell us quite a bit.
Stage 10, 191 Ks. This one here looks like one for the sprinters, Johnny. This is where Caleb gets his 4th stage win.
Yep.
Stage 11, 199 Ks. This is for the GC guys as well. We've got a HC climb near the finale. But as you said, they've opted not to have the finish at the summit. It's rolling in with the descents. And this has seemed like a bit of a trend.
The first in the Tour de France. We're actually climbing Mont Ventoux twice.
Right.
So we've got 2 ascents of Mont Ventoux. So it will be, very interesting.
The most crowd I've ever seen to this day was 2009 Mont Ventoux when Lance was made his comeback. And it was literally for the last 20 Ks, I reckon it was 15 deep the entire way up the climb. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
But the picture should come up really well there. 160K stage 12. This is another one for the sprinters. So this is where Caleb wins his 5th stage, Johnny.
Yep.
Stage 13 is 220Ks. Carcassonne. Now, I remember staying there. That's where you've got that medieval town. And they tell the famous story when the town got locked in and they were surrounded by the army, and they threw the catapulted the pig after, 3 months or something?
Yeah.
And the pig exploded and had all this rich food in it. And then the army thought, well, if that's what the pig's eating, how much food have they got in there? And they left.
It was a very smart, and Carcassonne's famous for its beautiful. What's the French stew that they have there? Just can't think of it now. Beautiful. Yep.
Beef stew, le beef. Stage 14. So Caleb wins his 6th stage there, John. Stage 14, 184 Ks. Cycling Tips are predicting one for the breakaway. Stage 15, 191 Ks. This one looks pretty gnarly as well, John. But again, like it's a descent into the finish.
Yeah.
You've got 3 Cat 1s.
Right? Yep. Yeah, 2 Cat 1s. Andorra, what a wonderful place.
You know why they're doing the descents into the finish? I just thought of it then. It's obviously a logistical thing as well, because when they do these mountaintop finishes for TV and to get all the trucks and all that sort of stuff, it's a nightmare. And obviously with COVID.
With the COVID, it might be. I didn't think of that, mate, but you could be right there. But Andorra, with a bit of luck, there'll be a nice little restaurant with the
squid.
And Fred Flintstone's legs of lamb.
Yeah, and finished off with some grappa and limoncello. Stage 16, 169 Ks. This is again one that Cycling Tips are predicting one for the breakaway. Stage 17, 178 Ks. This is GC. This looks real juicy at the finale there, John. 178 Ks, as we said, 2 Cat 1s, finishing on the HC. I'm shocking with my French pronunciation. How do you say that final climb?
Saint-Lary-Soulon, Col de Potet.
Perfect.
Yeah, not really, but it'll do. It fills you. It won't fill anyone else. But Yeah, this is a wonderful stage. Matter of fact, probably the stage that could decide this tour. It is a beautiful stage.
Stage 18, 130 Ks, GC men again. You've got the two HC climbs here. Luz Ardennes. We've been there a few times.
Yes,
famous ski village.
Yeah, famous Phil Liggett. Phil Anderson did a fantastic ride up there many years ago to get the yellow jersey. But yeah, and 2 days in a row. So this is really going to test the GC boys.
And again, these short stages, I love it. I absolutely love what the Tour de France are doing here. Short and sharp. It's just going to be on from the gun. It's going to be fantastic. Stage 19, we're getting to the finale here. One for the sprinters. This is where Caleb wins his 7th stage and is just shattering all records. And then stage 20 is the individual time trial, 30.8 Ks, Johnny. And this is going to be, geez, if we get a time trial like last year, that was the most drama-packed stage of the tour, I think I can remember. It was phenomenal.
It was just all about power and speed. So, and you know, if it gets to the stage where you've got 2 or 3 riders, with only seconds in it, it's going to be riveting stuff.
Yep, and then obviously the last roll into the Champs-Élysées. It looks pretty lumpy for the first part. It's not normally like that. It's obviously usually pretty flat for the run-in for the Champs, but I don't think that's going to make a difference.
Nah, not at all. They'll be still drinking champagne at the early parts of it, so it won't matter. And then Caleb wins his 8th stage, so there you go.
All right, we're going to run through the comments, and if we don't get Matt White by the end of that, I think we might have to call it, Johnny, because as I said, those meetings will go pretty long. Andy Matthews says, Simon Clark's team is now known as Team Quebecer Next Hash. Might take you for a while to get used to that one.
Oh, they've changed from Assos, have they? Well, there you go. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah. Kirsty Baxter, good to have you back, fellas. Good to tune in, Kirsty. Kim Dixon says, a new sponsor for Team Bike Exchange, John.
Yes, we have. We've got a great new partner. I wrote some stuff down about it somewhere, but I don't know where I put it. But Alula, which is a province.
You're just touching the mic, John. Are you there?
Sorry, mate?
Yeah, there's a bit of feedback. You're running your hands over the mic.
Oh, I was just looking for a bit of paper that I wrote a bit of information on, but I can't find it. But Alula, it's a region, a historic region of Saudi Arabia, and they've come in as a wonderful partner for this year. I think it's a 3-year deal, which is amazing. And we'll learn more about that as the tour goes on.
Sam Allen says, can't wait to see how Vanderpoel goes, especially with everyone else at the top of their game. That's going to be an interesting battle as well, Johnny.
Yes. Oh, look, he's such a superstar. But his main focus is the Olympics. So I think he's I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't even finish the tour, but he's definitely, after a stage win, and he'll be a big chance to get a yellow jersey in the first 2 days.
Matthew Bordegon says, hi, boys, can't wait for the Tour de France. And then Ian Thomas, he's laying the boots in early. Johnny says, hey there, Matthew, PS, you've missed nothing. So we've tried to stretch it out, and it hasn't ticked the green tick for old Tomo. Sophia says, is Sagan any chance of winning green, John?
I think he's the favourite, really. We're talking Caleb. Even if Caleb wins 4 or 5 stages, I still think he'll be hard-pressed to beat Sagan, but it's going to be a great battle, but he's my pick to win the green jersey.
And then we've got Simon Van Ryswick says, nice coverage, guys. And then Sam Allen says, my 9-year-old son hates me listening to cycling in the car, but he loves your show, Dan and Iffy.
Thanks, Sam.
Good man. Well, obviously, we would have loved to have had Matt White on Iffy, but I think that team meeting's going to run. It could be another hour. Who knows? It's classic Tour de France.
Quick text going to right now.
Yep.
Ready? And he will just say yes or no, and then we have a quick yap with him. If not, well, we'll talk to him tomorrow. He's the easier once the tour starts, but this is the
This is a preview show, Johnny. I think he'll be up and about tomorrow, and we can do a pre-recorded interview if needs be. Get him on a bit earlier, so I don't think it's going to be a big issue. So, and we're trying to keep it short and sharp because obviously the coverage starts on SBS. I think are they going live at 7:30 each night, Johnny?
7:30, well, of course, tomorrow not only have we got a stage one, but we've got the fantastic women's race. So it would be good to watch the girls, and they've got Phil was saying they climb it 4 times the finish area. But anyway, it'll be a fantastic race. And that'll be on earlier, so I reckon SBS will show that as well. So fantastic.
Yep. Wombat Burst says, thanks, guys. Looking forward to the next 3 weeks. Cheers. And Gary finishes it off with Whitey's giving you the lemonade, the lemon and sauce. No, it was the Tour de France's fault for dragging on that bloody team meeting. But he will be live tomorrow because, as we said, if we can't get him live, we'll pre-record an interview and we'll be able to preview all the big action or pending action from the opening stage at the Tour. And as we said earlier, there's a lot of pressure on you, Johnny, because you're going to be in the host chair. We'll have Scotty McGrory on, Phil Liggett, Matt White. But I'll be looking after the kids, mate. So I'll be there ready to join you on Sunday night.
What could go wrong?
Tune in for that. We'll be live 6:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Thanks again to Phil Liggett. Thanks, Iffy. And we'll see you again tomorrow night. Take it easy, guys.